G'day everyone, it's Coach Michelle J. Raymond, your trusted guide for building your brand and your business on LinkedIn. And we are at episode 201. It was a big one last week, but I feel like this one, where I've brought one of my favorite friends who I've met in person at Social Media Marketing World, this episode is going to be big because you and I, Brooke Sellis, we're on a mission to change social care, and you are the girl that can do that.
Thank you so much for having me. Hey, y'all. I'm so excited to be here. I love Michelle. We rant about a lot of the same things. So I just can't wait to see what the magic sparks that are about to fly.
I think it is. And thank you for throwing in the y'all for me, because you know that's my favorite US language that has not arrived here in Australia.
I say it literally because I lived in Texas for 29 years, but I say it and you just start to pick it up. You and Lil are just going to have to spread it into the rest of the world. Y'all.
I guess our listeners have come here today to find out not so much about my love affair with y'all, but actually to learn more about social care. But Brooke, when I hear those words which you use as part of your branding and your content, I'm not going to lie, it was something that I hadn't heard that term before. And I'm pretty sure there's probably some listeners out there that are thinking the same. Can we start with what is social customer care? Like, what does it involve, and maybe what isn't it?
Yes, I love that. And you know what it is? People call it so many different things. People call it engagement. People call it community management. People call it social selling. And I think it is all of those things, but I think the overarching term, which is starting to pick up trend, is social care or social media customer care. And ultimately, it is the act of servicing your would-be and your current customers on your social media channels through the conversations that happen there, but also by being proactive and using social listening to find those conversations where people aren't necessarily talking to you, like tagging you in those conversations, but they are talking about your brand, your stakeholders, your products, your services. And by the way, social care is one of the only marketing initiatives that both retains and attracts customers if done correctly.
I love anything that helps a business grow. That is the whole point of this podcast. And the thing that I want to talk about is the annoying thing that gets said out there on LinkedIn. Like, it's something gets said like it's fact that people don't trust brands and therefore they don't want to have conversations with brands. And I think that's straight out BS. And your whole business revolves around having conversations with brand customers on the daily. Can we just get that one out there?
Literally. Like, should I send you the gobs and gobs and gobs of conversations that we manage on a daily basis so that people see, oh, people do talk to brands a lot. And by the way, a couple of years ago, a study came out about Gen Z. And Gen Z actually weights brand conversations on social. So if I'm talking to your brand page and the brand comes back and gives me a response, they weight those conversations as high or higher than online reviews.
Wow. They trust peers, right? That is what's going on. They trust things that they see online. And I think this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I come at it from the perspective, I work with a lot of brands specifically on their LinkedIn company pages, and it can be their company page management. And often they reach out, and you probably may get something similar. They say, Michelle, can you create content for us? And let's just say it's 3 posts a week. Can you write it for us? The answer is yes. Yes, I can. But honestly, there is so much more to managing this than just posting content. So I'm going to pull out my soapbox. I'm going to put you on it. Why is it more than just creating content? What is the opportunity for these brands?
I'm going to say a line that is like one of my famous, I mean, like 4 people know I say this, but one of my famous
Shout
lines.
out to your mom.
Shout out, Mom. Hope you're having a good day. But this is the crux of it. And then I'll get into the actual getting into. But content is the vehicle. Emotion is the destination. And
say it again.
Content is the vehicle. emotion is the destination. Our content to do its job, which is marketing and ultimately really sales. Not everybody I talk to, I don't know about your clients, but everybody I talk to, I'm like, what's your goal for social media? Sales, revenue, right? That's the goal. If you want to sell to people, you have to connect with people. To connect with people, you have to make them feel something. When you think about most branded content on social media, very little of that content does anything to spark emotion. It's commodity content. And so the rules of social have changed. It used to be currency for social media was content, but I think now what we're seeing is, and why so many people are having problems with social media engagement and reach and sales and all the things, is because they're not creating conversational content that sparks some sort of opinion or feeling. And this means that the brands have to get vulnerable and share opinions and feelings as the brand. Yes, I know that's hard, but that's the whole ball game. Because if they do, it makes it so much easier for me to say, oh, Michelle, brand Michelle, I love that. I align with that. I feel like you get me. You see me. Let me put a comment here, or let me follow you, or let me go check out your website. That's how that happens.
It is probably the bane of my existence and so many conversations that I have. And I am on a mission right now to try and get brands to understand, if we ditch professional as the goal, whatever that looks like within brand guidelines, honest to God, it is so boring. It is doing the exact opposite, which, like you, my clients, they all want more leads. Who doesn't? But they're getting scrolled past at 1,000,000 miles an hour because this content is safe. It is within brand guidelines. It is the most boring snooze fest that you are ever going to get. And yeah, absolutely, 2 thumbs down, like you're saying. And for me, I don't know what it is that's going to give people the confidence and the courage to try something different. Because I think they tie it back. If we do something that someone might feel something, is our brand going to get cancelled? Am I going to lose my job or not get my KPIs? And so I get it from those perspectives. But those marketers that are listening, that are fearful around that, of trying something new, what would you say to them? Because for me, I think if you don't, you're going to die online anyway, a slow, painful death.
Death by 1,000 cuts. It's not going to be fun. Okay, well, I have 2 solutions for you, 2 ideas for you. One is what I hear a lot of times, and you probably hear this too, is people aren't talking about me online. Okay, that is a problem to solve, right? We need to get people talking about us, but that means that we need to create talk-worthy content. Our content has to start that conversation. The easiest layup way to do that right now is a poll. Every social media platform, including LinkedIn, has polls. Use them, but use them in a smart way. I'll give you an example. ProFlowers did a little poll, and they asked their audience, or they didn't do a poll necessarily in the traditional way, but they said, they gave an opinion. They were vulnerable. They said carnations are gorgeous. Unpopular opinion, right? And hundreds of people commented in this little kind of poll without being a poll. But when you looked through those hundreds of comments, about 80% of the comments were like, oh my gosh, I love carnations too. Okay, so you're thinking, so what? Okay, so people love carnations. It's ProFlowers. They sell flowers. If I knew that the people who commented on this thing, 80% of them loved carnations, couldn't I go that very next week and do a buy one, get one on carnations? You all said you loved carnations so much, and we want to show you how much we love you. We're doing a buy one, get one. Run it on social only. Because guess what? Now you have that social conversation. It gave you voice of customer data telling you that people love carnations. Now you're going to try to actually make the money off of the thing. Go see how well that BOGO thing does. Go see how much you sell, right? That's idea 1. Idea 2 is if you already are having these conversations, if you're already creating conversational content and there's conversations happening around your brand, people are responding to your content, they're sliding into your DMs, they're tagging you in their own conversations in the wild, I want you to audit those conversations. Look at all of the conversations, and there's 2 things, because we're talking about money here, right? Money, show me the money. There's 2 things I want you to look for. In all of those conversations, which of the conversations are about customer support? It's probably a complaint. I'm sorry to let you know, but this is a good thing. They care enough to tell you that they're mad so that you can fix it, so that you can reduce churn, so that you can reduce friction. That's saving a customer, which is saving money, keeping money. So look for all of those, tag or label them as customer support. Then I want you to go through all the conversations, and I want you to look for sales support. So do you have this in my size? What's your pricing? Do you ship to Australia? These are intent, sales support questions. I want you to tag all of those. Now, all of a sudden, you have quantitative data around how much of the conversations that are happening with your brand, and this is reactive, by the way. We haven't even gotten into the proactive stuff. The people who are coming to you reactively and talking to you, how much of it is gain? I could potentially make money off of this conversation, or retain. I could potentially save, keep money based on this conversation. That is how you start to get to a place of social care.
I love all of this. And I think the biggest driver, and I know you've posted content about this, and I do love your LinkedIn newsletter that comes out. So I'm going to put the details in the show notes so that people can check it out, because you're going into this pretty much every week, like giving people the insights of why social media customer care shouldn't be seen as a cost center, and it should actually be seen as a growth driver, because that whole piece that you just shared around how do you gain new business and how do you retain that you're about to lose is the actual name of the game between sales and marketing.
There's
that
like
is
a
the
song
whole
here.
point.
Gain and retain is the name
Exactly.
of the... No, gain and retain is the name of the game. Anyway, we're going to come up with a song.
There
and
is...
then...
I have
Stay
been the backup
tuned.
dancer, just so you know. Like, I have always wanted to be a backup dancer, but that's by the by, and a cheerleader. So we can incorporate...
Okay. We can dance and sing.
Exactly. 2 things at once. I don't know about that. This is what people want. So it's undoubtedly, we want more leads is the conversation that we're having day in, day out. And I'm sure within businesses right now when the markets are tougher, sales aren't
Now
just
more than
landing on
ever.
your lap. It's those that are proactive, like you said, that are going to win at this point in time. Like, we are not getting flooded with people who have spare money floating around, or budgets have been restricted. People are being laid off. There's all kinds of crazy going on in this world. Those people that are just sitting back going, oh, social media customer care, like, that is just nonsense. It's not going to help my business grow. You need to rewind this podcast episode, listen to what Brooke shared, and come back at it with a fresh set of eyes and think, what is the opportunity that is being wasted right now because you've just put this whole presence on social media as just a brand awareness play at best, or a tick and flick exercise at worst, which is posting 3 times is not the goal. And I think that's where brands go wrong. But I mean, you're in this day in, day out. Where do you think brands go really wrong?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that the reason why brands aren't seeing a return on investment on their social media efforts is because their social media strategy, efforts, tactic, whatever, you want to call it, aren't set up for return on investment. Think about it. When you talk to your clients, I'm sure you'll say the same thing I'm about to say. What's the number one thing people think is a social media strategy? The content. And it's not. That is why you are not getting a return on your social, because it's not about the content. The content is the fuel, but the fire are those conversations where you can start to make that emotional connection, where you can start to understand, where is this conversation going? Is this a customer who needs help? Is this a potential customer who I can sell? Those are the ways you get to return on investment. You have to literally think of it with a return on investment mindset, which content, I'm sorry, isn't I'm getting all ranty. Content isn't it.
Look, I knew that we would get ranty at some point during this episode because there are things that I see happening as part of this where people are so focused on the content. And we've already acknowledged that most content puts the potential buyers or existing customers to sleep because there's no emotion, there's no empathy, there's no joy, there's no contrarian opinions. It is just very, very safe. Okay, fine, you're safe, but you're also missing out. Social media marketing world this year, I was talking about page advocacy. So where people can stop just thinking about posting content, how can you use, in my case, the company page? I know you work across platforms. Get it out there and get it active and actively commenting, actively reposting, showing up and supporting employees, customers, anytime your brand's been mentioned out there. And I have to do a shout out to the team at Duolingo, who I know that for a lot of the support that they get and how people are in love with their brand, people think it's the content that they post or the big strategy behind some of the big reveals and fun things that they do. But the thing that I love about them, and I actually told one of their team this week, is that they show up and do cool comments everywhere. Like they are responding to their brand mentions like pretty amazingly. They pull out people that are doing posts on, I've just reached my 1,000-day streak or whatever it happens to be. They're showing up with on-brand comments, having fun, and they don't ever say, come and sign up for Duolingo. Like that is not mentioned pretty much anywhere, but they have my attention. I just love the effort that they put into equally, not just the strategy behind what they do, because I've read about that too, but actually getting out there proactively, supporting other people. Now, there's a novelty brands. Like, it's not all about you. That's how I say it. It's not all about you. It's time to get out there and make your brand the biggest cheerleader for those people in your target audience. And I think if you can shift that focus and stop being the person at the party that talks about yourself and start being the person that's interested in asking questions about the people on the other side. Imagine if brands showed up at a networking party, like you'd be, I've just got to go and get a drink and excusing yourself.
Running out the door. But no, you brought up such a great point. And that is the engagement piece. So we talked about conversation, which is, so we have this whole framework called the CARE framework. Conversation, acquisition, retention, what I told you about. The other side of the sandwich, the bun that holds it all together, is engagement. Because you cannot expect people to come to you. Can you imagine if we just went to a party? We went to this party that you just talked about. I just stood in the room and I was like, come to me, talk to me. I am just amazing.
Well, I did see your outfit at the last social media marketing event. And in fairness, like people did come to you just because you stood in the middle of the room and do that. But I digress because it was such a fabulous outfit and it deserves to be recorded.
A full-on jellyfish for those of you who weren't there. It was a full-on jellyfish costume. But, okay, but that was conversational content. People came up to me because I gave them a reason.
Let's talk about those conversations. Like that involves like simple things like asking questions or instead of just statements with a full stop or a period at the end. It is about actually being interested in the people on the other side. Now, I'm not going to let this podcast episode go without us specifically calling out one action that relates back to this. Can we just talk about brands not responding to comments? Now, I'm not going to go there because I'm going to get so fired up and just have a hissy fit. So I'm going to ask you to somehow remain under control because this is the thing that you and I just bond over because it's like, I don't get it. You put all this effort into content again, but when someone actually comments, and I see it on people with paid ad strategies, so they pay for ads to be seen by more people, comment, and they ignore it. So I'm going to sit back, you go.
I'm composing myself because this is crazy to me. I'm going to get on my soapbox. Sorry, I'm going to get ranty again. I was literally talking to a brand a couple of weeks ago who's about to drop $500,000 on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday, let's just call it, advertising. I said, great. What is your protocol, process, workflow, framework for when people come through. When you're spending that much money on ads, those ads are going to get people commenting on them. What's your plan for that?
Oh, not the blank stare, please.
Crickets.
Not the blank stare.
Crickets. I'm like, so let me get this straight. You're running these ads to sell things, to meet quotas and KPIs that you have. And you're basically going to be, you're a vendor. Somebody comes into your store. They click on the ad. They come into your store and they're like, hey, do you have these in my size? And you're just looking at them. You're just staring at them like not saying a word.
You're walking off.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So y'all, if you are spending any amount of money on ads, part of your ad budget should go to paying someone on your team or outsourcing to a team like us. I don't care who it is, call Michelle. But somebody needs to be answering those questions. And by the way, Jay Bear, shout out Jay Bear, he has a report called Time to Win. And he found that two-thirds of customers look at speed as more important than price. So think about it that way. If somebody's asking that support question on your ad and you don't quickly get them an answer, they're going to go ask someone else. And when they get the answer from them, they will pick them. And by the way, the report went on to say that person will pick the first responder even if they're more expensive.
Yeah, wow. So again, we're back to that ROI. Like, this is generating business growth by paying attention and actually putting resources towards this. This doesn't happen by magic. This is something that a real human, I think, is going to do a better job of picking up those signals. But I know that we're moving into a world of AI and chatbots and automation. Yeah. And I'm a little bit afraid to ask, but do you think that's the future of social customer care? And I already told you, I really hope not. Mm-hmm. But what are you seeing? Do those chatbots ever work? Because I am yet to find one that is actually helpful, and they infuriate me. And I go from being that buyer to get me the heck out of here. Mm-hmm. I want a real person. Yeah. Is that what you see, or are we still so in love with AI that we think it's the solution to everything?
No, listen, I think the answer is yes and no. Some people, right? And this is why it's so important to understand your customers. This is why knowing your customers before you go in and run any ads or do any social engagement or create that conversational content, you have to know who your customer is. And that includes knowing their channel of choice. Where do they hang out online? Do they consume my content on email, on videos, on YouTube, or do they like to consume it on social media? And beyond that channel of choice, are they looking for self-service, right? Are they looking for self-service options? We all think, oh yeah, they're definitely looking for self-service options. And the answer is yes. The research shows that a lot of us are looking to just get that answer really quickly. We're cool if it's from a bot, no big deal. But this is for frequently asked questions, those basic questions. Are you open today? Where's your nearest ATM? What are your hours? What are the directions? How do I get, do you have another location? Frequently asked questions like that, a bot absolutely is, they are, and they should answer those frequently asked questions because they can do it 24/7 and they can do it with 100% accuracy. Now, that said, anything beyond that basic FAQ, research shows that, like you said, people want to speak to a human. And we've seen it time and time again in the news, or you probably have anyway. I'll give you one example. Air Canada decided that they were going to wipe out their customer experience team. People don't need to talk to people. They can talk to our AI. And they replaced their CX team with bots. And someone came through and they had a death in the family and they said, hey, talking to the bot, do you do bereavement refunds? So meaning if I show you the death certificate, can I get my flight refunded? And the bot said, yeah. So this person went off, they had the funeral, they came back and they tried to get their money refunded. And Air Canada was like, that policy doesn't exist. We don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, but your bot told me that it did. This was a more complicated, this is not an FAQ. This is a more complicated situation. They were like, too bad, so sad. It was a bot. It got it wrong. She took them to court. She sued them and won because the court said, hey, your bot is a representative of your company. So whatever your bot says stands. They had to obviously give her money back and pay for her court fees. There is story after story just like this one where companies think they can wipe out customer care, no matter the channel, and replace it with AI. And every story has just gotten worse and worse. So I'm with you. It's a yes and no. Yes, bots are amazing at the frequently asked questions. Bots are amazing at the social listening. Bots are amazing at extracting the signal through the noise. They can take all of that data and tell you what the trends and patterns are. But when it comes to making that connection, when it comes to solving Michelle's problem, or even if Michelle just isn't a self-service person, if Michelle's one of my customers and she doesn't like self-service, I need a human for her, period.
Please, because I am that self-service person who likes to do everything by myself, for myself. So if I get to the point where I actually need some help that I can't find it, I don't have time to go through the same conversation with the bot over and over again to end up like somewhere that I'm like, no, I need another option. My option isn't in there. But this isn't all about bots. I think the main point here is that actually having thought about your customers and potential customers, figured out and by research what's important to them, where will they be, what do they expect, and then putting something in place, we're going to go back to it again, is not a cost center driver. This is a growth driver. And I want to hammer that back again because we're doing so much work, Brooke, to build relationships or build the brand online. And then at the point where it's getting to the dollar figures that are about to come your way, we're dropping the ball. I think you guys would say dropping the ball on the 1 yard line. Like, I feel like you're so close.
One in goal and they drop the ball or fumble the ball. Yeah,
yes.
I'm a football gal. Yeah.
Yes. So you're so close
and
yet so far away. And then what happens is you go, it doesn't work. Like, social doesn't work. LinkedIn's broken. It doesn't work for our business. And I go, no, that's because you don't work for your customers. And I'm going to call that out because I see it all the time. The content that goes out on a lot of brand pages on LinkedIn is all about, we'll be at this trade show. We'll be doing this. We've got a white paper. We've got this. And I know that is like part of, there's some other KPIs maybe that people have, but your whole job is not to use the follower base that you build on these social platforms to just try and push your own agenda. And if you just flip the switch and go into social care mode, and every great tip that Brooke has shared with us today, we are back at team gain and retain, which is the goal of what we're trying to do, which then generates dollars. And I'm all for the dollars. I unashamedly, that's why I'm helping clients. But I think we have to flip that switch. Now, I am going to ask one last question as we wrap this up. And as always, time flies. But if a marketing manager out there or somebody that's responsible for this in a business is listening in and hasn't started this whole process and is having those light bulbs going off, going, oh my God, we've just been doing content. What is one action today that you think is a great place for them to start on the journey to get closer to implementing this type of thing in their business?
This is the part where I would say use AI. If you're friendly and happy with AI and you're comfortable using it, give it some information about your audience, right? Your customers, your best customers even. You could even niche that down. Like, this is my best ICP. These are the biggest customers. They pay on time. They pay the most, right? Give them what that customer makeup looks like. And then tell them, I have a LinkedIn page and I know I need to create talk-worthy content, conversational content. Help me come up with some ideas, polls, open-ended questions, right? Anything you could help me with to start to create this type of content, and then just test it. This goes back to being vulnerable. You're going to have to test it. And guess what? The first poll you put out or the first question you put out trying to solicit answers is probably going to get crickets, and that is okay. Consistency is key, but you have to prime your audience on your social media channels to join you in those conversations. You have to be conversational, and then you have to reward them when they're conversational back. So I'd say that's the place to start. Think about your content, right? Because I know I'm not going to pull you away from content, precious content. So then I want you to think about how to make your content more conversational.
Look, and that's a huge ditto from me. And for anyone that is wondering what makes a good poll, just message me over on LinkedIn and drop me a comment and say, I need to know more about polls. I've done a whole podcast episode dedicated to what makes a good poll so that I can help people, because they do say that. They literally come to me, Brooke, and go, I tried a poll because you said it on the podcast, didn't work. Oh, you think my first poll just landed and took off like fire? No, we have to learn these things. But I've shared a lot of what I learned on there. Brooke, you are the go-to when it comes to all things social media, customer care. I thank you for sharing so generously as always. And I am going to put all the details on how people can contact you. If you are looking to outsource this whole thing, there is no one better that I can trust and recommend to you. If you are looking for somebody to manage your LinkedIn company page as a starting point, I've got you covered. So you're going to work with the best of the best if you reach one of us. And that is why I do these episodes, listeners, because I want you to know how we can level up and do things that your competitors won't. So this is a real opportunity for brands to own their space, own their industry, and shine for those buyers who are looking online for that social proof that you are more than just a product or service. Do you align with their values? Are you going to show up when they need help? And are you somebody that they can trust? And if the answer is yes to all of those, your sales goes up, everybody's happy, and that is the name of the game. So until next week, listeners, I just want to say, go away, take one action from what you've learned and put it into action. Brooke, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, and bye, y'all.
Bye, and I will see you in Anaheim in 2026. Until then, cheers.